Good morning. Today is November 6th, 2024. I'm going to go over a proposal really quickly that I think is interesting for tax consultants, both US based and also if you're based in the EU. And this has to do with with what's coming up. So we've had an election here stateside, there's a new president. How is that going to affect potential clients that are based in Europe specifically? And also, if you're a citizen living in Europe, how is that going to affect your decisions in terms of starting a business in Europe or wanting to enter the US market? So, this proposal is actually fairly new. It was posted on November 3rd, so only 3 days old. So on Upwork, and I've seen this too because I was very curious. So on the sell side of Upwork, so Upwork provides consultants, but also they do have marketing that appeals to the client. And apparently, the ads that I've seen from Upwork is that you can hire someone within 1 day, which is fine depending on where you're coming from. But that also means that the client has to be the mindset of the client, and this is if we're talking again about the average Joe, the average Jane, small business owners making between 50 to 100K USD. So if you're in Europe, that would be the equivalent in euros. So making a decision in 1 day, well, I wouldn't recommend it, but I guess that's why you get to have a lot of proposals and then you can review them. And then on the other side of it, if you have a lot of proposals, it gets overwhelming and you're spoiled for choice and you may or may not find the right freelancer off the bat, but that's fine. So this is an advertisement on Upwork. So this client is looking for a tax and business consultant for an EU-US e-commerce setup. Okay. So here he or she says we're in the process of establishing an e-commerce site to sell goods from the EU to the US market. So they're looking for a consultant who can advise on setting up two entities, one here and one in Europe. So they want the parent entity to be in the US, and then the subsidiary in Europe. So they want guidance on tax law, tax consequences, so anything that you need to know before you start a business. So this is more of a tax planning engagement, which is great, so that you can know what your liabilities would be if you took this route or this route or this route. So this is good. And they want someone to assist with the registration of the business. They want to know the most cost-effective structure for operations. And here it is again, considering taxes. And help identify best practices for cross-border transactions and logistics. Qualifications, you have to have familiarity with e-commerce, international trade, communication skills, that's the basics. What they offer, a competitive rate. So the reason why I want to go over this proposal and go ahead and if you're freelancer looking for work, if you're looking at this video and you're based in Europe and you're a tax specialist, sign up on Upwork, apply to this job. You might get it. It pays pretty well. So I have applied as well. I've responded to this job. So maybe if you're in Europe, you and I can work together. Yay, if they pick us. Anywho, but if you're a tax consultant in Europe, still, I do enjoy spreading my network. So go ahead and if you could reach out to me, there should be my contact information somewhere here. It's always good to strengthen your network. So going back to this job post, with what's going on in Europe, if you're in Europe and you're not aware that there is a Euro tax that's coming up soon, then you've been living under a rock. So there has been a report. I think his name was Mario Draghi. There it is. So there it is right here. So Europe is in a bind, or the Eurozone, I guess, is in a bind because it's no longer profitable to have a business in Europe. If you disagree, check out what's going on in Germany. There is a manufacturing company that's closing down. I believe it's Volkswagen. So I think they make cars or something like that. If you're in Europe, you know what I mean, especially if you're in Germany. So anywho, Mr. Mario Draghi wrote a report. Go ahead and read it. If you're a business owner in the Eurozone, read this report. Because what he's really saying is that Europe is no longer and hasn't been really competitive in terms of the free market, the world free market, because you are competing against manufacturers in Asia, namely China. And now that operating costs are really high, namely energy, if you're it has become impossible for a manufacturing company to be profitable. Now, is it the end of the world if a company is not profitable? It's not. So if your company can absorb losses, that's great because then that means that you have extra cash flow. That's good. So for example, Amazon was not profitable for more than 5 years, I believe, when it was still a smaller company. So it's not the end of the world, but what does it mean for someone like this person here who wants to hire a consultant and who wants to know what is the best tax strategy to register a company in the US and also subsidiary in the Eurozone and to provide e-commerce? So my response to this person, I don't know if I can show that here. Yes, so there it is. So I responded to them and I said, let's see. I'm giving them an example of a client that I have. So in order for me to provide actionable information to this potential client, I asked them, what is the product? Is this clothes? Are we talking clothes, electronics? Because the product that they want to sell I think they mentioned that it's made in the EU. Let me see. Qualifications, what we offer. Oh, I'm pretty sure. Okay, there it is. We are in the process of establishing an e-commerce site to sell goods from the EU to the US market. So my response was, okay, that's wonderful. Well, I'm paraphrasing here, but exactly what are we selling? Clothes, electronics, furniture. And if it's furniture, you can forget about it because we have IKEA here. And um, most of us living here, we always complain about how IKEA is not, it's very affordable, but it's not convenient to build. But anywho, so I asked them, what is the product? Because from there, my recommendation will it will affect my recommendation. I have to know what are we intending to sell? And they don't have to tell me specifically what it is, but at least I need a general information because I have to determine, is this product elastic? How low can you go in terms of price? Is it something that would even appeal to American consumers? Because as Americans, we are spoiled for choice, and especially if it's on the lower price range. The market is dominated by big merchandising businesses such as Walmart. So what are you selling? Number two, what's your budget for advertising? So this client, potential client, may not even have thought that far because um, we have new companies registering in America every day, thousands and thousands and thousands. If you think that you can register a business and then let's say if the product is readily available, you have a great website and then sit on your butt, that's not going to work. You need to have advertising. You need to pay for advertising on the internet. And then again, this depends. It will depend on what you're selling. So number three, I asked them, what's the jurisdiction in the EU where you want the subsidiary to be incorporated? Because not all EU jurisdictions have the same sales tax rate, which over there they call VAT, value added tax. So it can be from 15 to 25%. But again, the 15 to 25%, that's the rate now. Before the EU, and this is is this a legislative body? I forget, but so this legislative body is going to institute a Eurozone tax. That's happening. Why are they going to institute this new Eurozone tax? For, well, the reason really is, or what Mr. Draghi is saying here is because Europe is not competitive, but also really they need to fund for the war effort in the over there. I think you know who. Anywho, so there is a tax coming. So what that means is not only, so it's going to be on top of this. So let's say you live in, I don't know, um Greece. I don't know what is this VAT in Greece. Let's say Cyprus, because that's where they have the ships, I believe. Is that where they dock most of the ships? But anywho, so 19%. Okay. So you live in Cyprus, and the VAT tax rate is 19%. After this new tax goes in, the VAT, it could be up to 35%. Why not? So don't think that it's going to be a small number. Um, why? Again, read this report right here. So there's one that is expanded on. I think that one is 150 pages, I think. And then there's a shorter version of 20 pages, perhaps. I forget what it was. Um, but it's all here. So go ahead and read it. So now it's going to be higher. So what we're really doing here is you have a company you're selling. Let's say you were able to sell, wonderful. Let's say you sold 100K. Depending on where you're incorporated here in America, where you have what we call sales tax nexus. So wherever you have your business virtual address or where you have the most sales, it all depends. If you have questions, just reach out and I'll explain. Let's say you are incorporated in New Hampshire, where I do reside, and I am a registered agent. So if you are an international entrepreneur looking to register a company, I do encourage for you to reach out to me because I can do that for you. And it is affordable. So I'm going to show you how you can do that here. So just go on diasporaventurecapital.com. And I think this link is going to be here also on the YouTube video. So I can do that for you. I can incorporate an LLC or a corporation. I prefer corporations because then there are shares, and then you can allocate shares within your network, or there's a lot of things you can do with a corporation. So that's what I prefer. But and then go ahead and see what the difference is. But the cost is only $300, 300 USD. The difference between how Diaspora Venture Capital does it and other competitors is you will have a virtual, this is one lump sum payment, 300 USD. You'll have a business address, a virtual address. and where your corporation mail can be sent. I will scan it and send it to you. So that's electronic mail forwarding. I will be your registered agent and I will be your company officer for 1 year. So what that means is you actually have an officer of your company that is a person, right? Me, based here in the US. So you can start operations really quickly. I can help you with hiring. If we're looking to open a business bank account, set up a shop on Shopify, all of that, I will be able to interact with the US vendors directly. So it's really a bargain. And it's not going to be $300 for long because I'm just testing this price. So it's a bargain, and this all of this is for 1 year. So check it out. And go ahead and if you scroll here, right, get started. You will have to. Do I have a login link? Okay, yes. So if you click on the login and type in EBTE, that will take you to this page where you can fill in your information, all of this here. All right. So, because I need KYC information, obviously. So again, just go to Diaspora Venture Capital. Okay, I'm calling this product Eliminating Barriers to Entry because one of the barriers to enter the US market is obviously the price of not just incorporation. That's easy. You can go, there's thousands of websites that will incorporate for you at a very, very small, they have a very small margin, and you can get a registered agent also. Very affordable. We do have 50 states. So you can incorporate anywhere in the 50 states. It's probably going to be affordable. You probably will have, if you want, you can get a registered agent, but that's as far as it goes. You do not get a company officer, and you have to pay extra for mail forwarding. So I would encourage you to sign up with Diaspora Venture Capital today after after watching this video. And by the way, thank you for my new subscribers. I do appreciate your subscription. So if you find this video useful, if you know someone that could use the information that I'm sharing here, share the video, subscribe. And I'll also, do my best to start posting more frequently. But anyways, going back to what I was talking about, which is, let's see. So yes, so you want to incorporate in the US, you have to pick the state. Some states have a sales tax, some do not. The state of New Hampshire does not have a sales tax. So if you incorporate your company with me, with Diaspora Venture Capital, and let's say you have 100K in sales in 1 year, you don't have to pay a sales tax to the state of New Hampshire. However, now depending on where your customers are located, if you sell because again, not all 50 states are like the state of New Hampshire. Um, where your customer is located will determine whether you have to pay a sales tax. That's one thing. So let's say you have 100K minus all of the administrative expenses, minus all of the sales tax, whatever, whatever. And you're left with, let's say, 20K in net profit after subtracting everything. Now the next thing is how do you get that 20K from the business bank account here to the business bank account where you're at? The way that it would get to you is so as an individual, right, you have a personal income tax rate depending on where you're located. I took the example of Cyprus. So you would have to pay the personal income tax. So if the 20,000 goes to the business bank account, from there you have to do tax reporting wherever you're at in Europe, and then you have to pay yourself a salary from the business bank account. which means from the 20, and this is assuming there are no wiring fees. So we're keeping this example very simple. 20,000 from USA, and it's exactly 20,000 USD, the equivalent in euros in the business bank account, minus all of the reporting fees for your company where you're located. And then again, minus all of the taxes associated with employment. So you're going to be paid as an employee of your company. So, and then after all that, if there's a profit, then that profit will also be taxed wherever you're at. So I recommend to pay yourself all of what's left over as salary, and then from there you have to pay an income tax. There's no way around that. That's how it would be as if you have a business. If you really want to incorporate a subsidiary wherever you're at, you do not have to. You can just be paid a salary from the U.S. corporation, the one here. It can be wired. So we can deduct, and depending on where you're at, because there are tax treaties, and this can get complicated. But the point is, what I'm trying to say is, you do not necessarily have to have a subsidiary wherever you're at. You can just be paid as the owner of a U.S. corporation. It can be simpler depending on where you're at. And also, we do need to know the but also it depends on the product that you're selling to because things can get complicated. So anyway, that's just a little bit of information in terms of tax rates in the EU, the VAT tax ranges. So I did want to bring that up in my proposal to them because the tax rate is going to increase. Now, I also asked them, where are you storing this inventory? Because again, if you're storing it in Europe, in the Eurozone, it's going to be expensive. Why? Energy costs. So I'm assuming that whatever you're storing needs to be at a certain temperature. I guess it can't be food, but anywho, even if you're okay, unless you're storing it in your garage, some way, somehow, um, there are going to be storage fees, and I wanted to know again, what's the inventory because we need to account for storage costs. I asked them, what is the size of your organization? Is this advertisement from you as an individual? You have an idea, or is it you and a few colleagues? So do you actually have numbers? 10 people looking to do this, 20 people, because that also is also important. Because if it's more than one person, I really need to know where everyone is based to provide a recommendation that's actually worth reading. So I asked them for the size of their organization. And then I did ask them, do you want to get started in the near term, meaning in the next, I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks? So like now, or are you just shooting out an idea and you just want to know because you want to be prepared because maybe by next summer, which is not too far off, you would want to do this, and that's fine because when it comes to providing a recommendation, we do need to account for the incoming changes, including the new taxes that are coming up in the Eurozone. And also, as we've just had an election, things might be different. So if you are a business incorporated in Europe, right, and you want to sell products, as a so and you want to sell European products, perhaps the new administration is going to add some sort of tax on that. So I do know that the new president, President Trump, he has spoken about Made in America. So he is going to try to encourage businesses here, to grow. And that means that there might be some tariffs imposed on any products that are sourced from elsewhere. And this tariff could be significant. It could eat up all of your profits, potential profits. So that's why I asked them, when do you want to get started? Do you want to get started now or in a couple of months? Because that's important to know. And I did mention Mario Draghi's report, so hopefully they're going to read that. And then I did ask them, are you looking to make a profit right away? Because that will also affect my recommendation. Do we want to be aggressive in our operations? Do we want to operate on a very lean budget? Is profit at the end of the day what we want? Or are you looking to establish a long-term business concern? Because this goes back to the business life cycle of most companies, especially small businesses. So, on average, right, um, 50% of a newly incorporated business in America does not make it to the next year. 50%. So let's say you have 10 new companies incorporated today, November 6th. By next year, out of the 10, only five will still be in business. And then from then, 5 years later, only 50% of those businesses will still be in business. So I asked them, do you want to make a profit or do you want to, or are you looking for a long-term business, a long-term operation? Because that's important. And if you're looking to just have a company that's operating, it's been in business in America long term, it could be even for immigration purposes. That's fine. We welcome your money. We'll take your money if you're a potential investor. However, we do need to plan around how much cash you need to have so that it will sustain your business until things become profitable. Okay. So, this is just a short, I just wanted to share this with you all. So this is a proposal on Upwork from and the question is, I'm looking to start an e-commerce business. I want to incorporate in America and also in the Eurozone, wherever they're located. Can you provide recommendations? And yes, I can do that absolutely. However, I do need more information so that I can provide a recommendation that's worthwhile. Because, my hourly rate on Upwork is 75 bucks an hour. So this is the proposal. If you're a freelancer, you're based in Europe, you have experience in tax consultations, I would apply to this job because it's something that they would need to know, and you're obviously more knowledgeable about the EU taxation side than I am. And yes, I think you can see it. So my rate is 75 an hour, and that's why I did ask them a bunch of questions, because I want to give them a good recommendation. Okay, so I asked them, what are you going to sell? Because I need to determine supply and demand elasticity. The is your product elastic to economic shocks, tariffs, for example, um, taxes, extra taxes that are coming up. What's your budget for advertising? Because you have to think ahead and know and understand that you need to advertise for your product. And remember that it's very competitive in the e-commerce space. I asked them what jurisdiction in the EU will they be based in? Because that is important to know because the EU does not have a uniform tax for every jurisdiction. It's 15 to 25. However, we do have the new Eurozone tax coming, right? I asked them, where do you want the inventory to be stored? Because I need to account for that in my recommendation. What is the current size of your organization? Because I need to know, is everyone in the same jurisdiction? If not, where's everyone else based? Right? Because that will also, because their tax profile is going to be different. And then I ask them, do you want to get started now or do we have time? And if we have time, you have to be mindful that all of these things are going to be happening in the next couple of months. What are the things? The Eurozone tax, tariffs from the US administration, and other things too. Because we don't know how things are going to end up going on the East. So knowing how soon you want to get started is important. And I asked them, are you looking to make a profit right away, or do you have funds that can sustain your business so that you can establish a long-term presence? Because some clients are really about establishing a long-term presence so that they can, it could be maybe for immigration purposes or maybe not, but anyway, it really depends. So I did not give them a recommendation. Okay. I asked them for more information and hopefully they will give me that information and then I can actually I can pitch um, my services to them because my hourly rate is pretty high. So that's just something I wanted to share with you all. Remember to go to Diaspora Venture Capital if you want to incorporate in America. Check it out. It's affordable, 300 USD. Thank you again for my new subscribers. I do appreciate you. Thank you. Also, if you think that this could be useful to somebody you know, share the video. So that's all I wanted to share with everyone today. Today is November 6th, the day after the US election. So I'll be talking with you soon. Have a great day.